I have always dreaded these dinner gatherings, though I went to them for the sake of peace. Sitting a few seats away from the center of laughter and chatter, I observed the lively conversation among Claire and her friends. I was always a silent spectator, half listening as the room filled with easy laughter and casual banter. Tonight, as always, I tried to blend into the background, accepting that my role was to support Claire by merely being present. In my heart, however, I felt a heavy loneliness, a growing distance that I had tried to ignore for too long. I reminded myself that I was there for her happiness. Yet inside, a storm of emotions churned, making each laugh and every comment cut deeper than it seemed. The evening continued in its usual rhythm, with stories and jokes shared among the group. I picked at my food, my mind wandering through memories of better times, when Claire and I had shared secrets and dreams over similar dinners. But that warmth was gone, replaced by an unspoken chill that now defined our interactions. I listened, intently, hoping to find solace in the familiar sounds of our life together. But instead, the night took a turn I had long feared. A voice from the group broke through my scattered thoughts with an innocent inquiry. "So, how's married life treating you?" The question, seemingly simple, pierced through the comfortable veneer of our dinner. I felt my heart slow its rhythm, as if bracing for an impact that I knew would shatter the fragile peace I clung to. Before I could even gather my thoughts, Claire's response rang out. She laughed, a loud, dismissive laugh that seemed to echo around the table, followed by the words that would haunt me forever. "Oh, please, he's just my roommate at this point." In that instant, time appeared to freeze. The sound of her voice, light and carefree to everyone else, felt like a cruel verdict pronounced in front of an audience. I sat frozen, the weight of her words sinking in with every passing second. Her friends chuckled, nodding in agreement, as if this was nothing more than a harmless joke, a familiar line in their repertoire. Their easy acceptance of her callous remark left me feeling exposed and isolated, as though I had become the subject of a joke that I never consented to be part of. As the conversation resumed around me, I struggled to maintain my composure. Each laugh, each casual glance exchanged between Claire and her friends deepened the wound inflicted by her words. I could not help but recall the years of quiet sacrifices, the small gestures of love that had once bound us together. But in that moment, everything was reduced to a bitter realization. The person I had trusted and loved now viewed me as nothing more than an inconvenient presence, a roommate in a shared space, bereft of closeness and caring. The dinner developed into a sad showcase of things I had long sensed, but never fully acknowledged. I sat silently, feeling every word like a blow. My thoughts raced as I considered how our life had slowly unraveled into this moment of public humiliation. I recalled the times I had overlooked indicators of disinterest, the numerous evenings spent alone with my anxieties while Claire mingled with others. Now her remark laid bare the truth I had feared. Our marriage had become a mere arrangement, a facade hiding a growing emptiness. The room, filled with light chatter and gentle music, seemed to close in around me, making it hard to breathe. I felt as if I were watching someone else's life unfold, a life where I no longer played a meaningful part. I remained seated long after the laughter had died down, my mind racing as I sought to understand the full significance of what had been stated. Every word reverberated in my ears, turning my heart cold with sorrow and disbelief. I recalled countless moments when I had silently wished for a reconnection, for the warmth that had once filled our home. Yet, here, in the harsh glare of a dinner table, I realized that the hope I had clung to was nothing but a fragile illusion. The sound of their laughter, so carefree and unburdened, only magnified the emptiness I felt. I began to wonder if I had ever genuinely seen Claire, or if I had been blind to the slow transformation that had robbed me of the man I once was. In that painful silence, my inner voice grew stronger, shouting things I could no longer ignore. I saw that the life we had made together had been slipping away, piece by piece, until it was reduced to these bitter fragments of conversation and regret. I thought of the countless nights spent wondering where our love had gone, of dreams that had faded into the background as routine and resentment took over. The realization that I was no longer more than a roommate stung with a cold finality, and the thought that she had come to accept this reality without a hint of remorse made the pain even sharper. As I sat there, the cold light of the evening seemed to cast a shadow over every cherished memory. I felt a deep sadness for the man I once hoped to be, for the future I had imagined with Claire, filled with shared laughter and mutual care. Instead, I was left with a heavy heart and the stark knowledge that the link we once valued had been shattered long ago. Each chuckle from the table was a reminder of the distance that had grown between us, a distance that now seemed insurmountable. I could feel the emptiness inside me swell, a silent scream in the void of a life that had turned unexpectedly dark. Every word that echoed in the dining room now carried the weight of a farewell I was never ready to say aloud. My eyes wandered from the animated expressions of the others to the still unchanging face of Claire. In that moment, I saw not the lively woman I had once adored, but a stranger who had learned to hide behind a facade of charm and indifference. Her smile, once a source of comfort, now felt like a reminder of my own insignificance. I could not bring myself to confront her then, for the truth was too raw and the pain too immediate. Instead, I sank deeper into the seat, each passing minute, stretching out in a silent testament to a love that had become a hollow memory. As the night drew on, I found myself wrestling with a mix of regret, anger, and profound sorrow. I had spent so many years hoping to mend what was broken, to find a spark that could revive the dwindling flame of our relationship. Yet, as I listened to the easy laughter around me and watched Claire share knowing glances with her friends, I realized that the spark had long been extinguished. I felt as though I were living in a dream, a waking nightmare where every moment was tinged with the pain of what had been lost. I longed for the comforting embrace of certainty, but all I was left with was a cold, unyielding truth. I was no longer the husband she once claimed to love. The rest of the evening passed in a haze of half-formed thoughts and emotions. I sat, numb and isolated, while the dinner continued unabated around me. The clink of cutlery and the murmur of conversation became a distant background noise to the storm raging inside my mind. I knew that this night would mark a turning point in my life, a moment when the truth could no longer be ignored. In that heavy silence, I made a silent vow to myself. I would no longer hide from the pain, nor would I allow the remnants of our past to keep me trapped in a life devoid of genuine love and respect. That dinner, with all its harsh revelations, was both an ending and a beginning. The calm ache of knowing that sometimes silence speaks louder than any words ever could. In this moment, the quiet before the storm is both an end and a beginning, a fragile space where I must learn to reconstruct my sense of self from the rubble of a common past. With shaky resolve, I prepare myself for the inevitable change, knowing that within the quiet there lies a promise of renewal, however painful it may be. This is the narrative of a man coming to terms with the slow, silent unraveling of a life once filled with warmth, now overwhelmed by the echoing nothingness of a love that has all but disappeared. I sat in our peaceful living room that evening, the silence surrounding me as thick as the emotions invading my mind. Every memory of shared laughter and whispered promises suddenly contrasted with the hard truth that our marriage was crumbling. For the first time, I felt the weight of my own insignificance and understood that if I wanted to save even a shred of myself. I had to make a choice. I began to build a plan, not out of anger, but from a deep yearning, longing to recover my identity. I remembered the days when I used to wake up with hope and purpose, when our home was a sanctuary of dreams and shared ambitions. Now, the house felt empty, every room booming with the loss of connection and warmth that had previously defined us. I knew I had to go before the situation escalated, before the calm neglect developed into an intolerable emptiness. I started by gradually gathering my personal belongings, little mementos of who I was. A worn photograph, a cherished book, the simple comfort of my own clothes. Each item I packed seemed like an act of silent resistance, a step toward independence from a life that had become a daily reminder of what I had lost. The process was slow and measured. I did it in secret, avoiding any encounter that might force a premature decision. I reviewed the lease, and as I noted that Claire's name alone was on it, a chill ran down my spine. The bills, the contracts, even the little facts of our joint lives were all hers. This simple reality, as awful as it was, reaffirmed the inevitability of my departure. I wasn't battling for something I could never claim again. I was only walking away from a life where I was no longer seen or valued. As I finished packing, my thoughts churned, feeling a mix of sadness and resolution. I remembered the nights when Claire and I had planned for a future filled with laughs and shared accomplishments. I recalled her gentle smile as she talked about aspirations we previously fostered together. But those dreams had withered under the weight of disdain and neglect, and what remained was a hollow echo of promises shattered by time. I wondered how I had missed the signs, how I had allowed myself to become so invisible in a life that was slowly slipping away. The revelation stung, and yet it kindled a determination I had not felt in years. I had to leave, not because I was upset, but because I